One introduction ROSEP view the United States government was on track in the Biden administration to reduce the prices for both clean energy heat pumps and clean energy electric cars. Trump tariffs are expected to upset those plans to prevent future air pollution and prevent climate change. The United States government should, instead of certifying wood stoves as safe when they are not safe, go forward with regulations that ban wood stove use and direct government money for use of forest refuse only. For home building and furniture building, for just a few examples of use of forest products for non-burning uses, it is well known from scientific and medical research that wood burning is a substantial source of PM 2.5 emissions, yet the wood burning industry uses the scientifically debunked theory named carbon neutrality of wood burning to argue that wood burning replacing coal burning in industry, and in a trickle-down argument that wood burning should continue for home heating should continue. Presumably because it is called renewable, wood may be renewable in the sense that a tree can be planted in the place of a cut-down burned tree, but it takes centuries or decades for the newly planted tree to attain the stature of the cut-down burned tree. During those centuries or decades, photosynthesis, which converts CO2 to oxygen and so sequesters some carbon, will not take place at the same rate as photosynthesis was performed previously, and wood burning emits both CO2 and PM 2.5, and PM 2.5 is not absorbed by trees, so PM 2.5 is not diminished by planting a tree in the place of a cut-down and burned tree. In fact, a living tree closes its pores against the presence of PM 2.5 from nearby wood burning, just as humans hold their breath in the presence of PM 2.5 from nearby wood burning. And when a tree closes its pores, the level of photosynthesis that absorbs CO2 pollution goes down. Wood burning emits 90% PM 2.5 particulate matter of 2.5 micrometer size, the perfect size to infiltrate the human lungs, setting off a cascade of human health problems and early deaths. Contrary to many beliefs, wood burning emits 2.8 times the PM 2.5 as the fossil fuel coal burning, and wood burning emits 450 times the PM 2.5 as the fossil fuel natural gas burning. Replacing coal burning with wood burning creates more air pollution in the form of CO2 and PM 2.5 than coal burning. This emission data comes from testing the cleanest burning wood stove in the United Kingdom, the Eco-Design Wood Stove, and International Convention does not count the emissions from wood burning. The emissions from wood burning are erased from all countries around the world when calculating if each country has met its climate goals. This non-counting or erasure of wood burning emissions data from climate goals does not mean wood burning emissions do not exist. ROSEP view purple air PM 2.5 monitors hanging from the eaves of the house of a near neighbor should be used to measure the level of PM 2.5 in the air hyperlocally in the yards of near neighbors of indoor residential wood burners. If PM 2.5 levels exceed World Health Organization standards of 5 micrograms per cubic meter annually, then that evidence of air pollution from wood burning should lead to the shutdown of that indoor residential wood burning appliance, one appliance at a time if necessary.
Hi, my name is Lily. Andrew gave you the intro to residents against wood smoke emission particulates and their concern for air pollution from indoor residential wood burning. Residents against wood smoke emission particulates, or ROSEP, would like every near neighbor of an indoor residential wood burner whose wood smoke enters their yards and sickens the near neighbors to have a purple air PM 2.5 monitor hanging from the eaves of their home to measure the level of PM 2.5 entering their yards. That measurement of air pollution should be used as evidence of unnecessary air pollution, and each indoor residential wood burner should be shut down based on that evidence, one indoor residential wood burner at a time if necessary. The presentation by Andrew ended at 2 minutes 5 seconds. The same presentation by Emma starts at 2 minutes 3 seconds before the end of this podcast. So I am Lily, your timekeeper, and you can start the next podcast at 2 minutes 5 seconds in if you would not like to see the presentation by Andrew a second time. This presentation by me, Lily, ends at 5 minutes in. What you will see in the main content of this ROSEP podcast will be news about air pollution from indoor residential wood burning and how that air pollution is being combated by ordinary people just like you who are unfortunately near neighbors of indoor residential wood burners at this time. There will also be news about unnecessary and highly polluting use of wood as fuel in industrial wood burners and preventable air pollution from wood burning wildfires. There will also be news about air pollution from PM 2.5 from gas-powered cars. There will also be news about airborne diseases which are also preventable with vaccines such as COVID-19 and measles and whooping cough, to name just a few. In 2025, residents against wood smoke emission particulates is also concerned with combating the Trump destruction of government funding for programs which protect human health through the Department of Health and Human Services, and Trump destruction of programs which fund the science and medical research plan to protect human health from preventable illnesses. Protecting human health is a patriotic act, and our defense against enemies is weakened if we are not as healthy as we can be. Heat pump rebates are now offered by the federal government, distributed through the eligible United States, are available in 2025 and are the best, cleanest, and now cheapest alternative to indoor residential wood burning if that burning is actually done to purportedly save money. Wind and solar as sources of the electricity that powers heat pumps and electric cars is also cheaper than burning wood. The adverse health effects that are caused by indoor residential wood burning also come at a cost to near neighbors, both in shortening and ending their lives and in actual hospital, clinic, and funeral costs. Instead of being compensated monetarily, near neighbors should instead be able to achieve immediate relief by stopping indoor residential wood burning in their hyper-localized neighborhoods, which relief readings from purple air PM 2.5 monitors used as evidence of air pollution will help them achieve. Welcome to news about hopeful scientific and medical achievements that will also help us achieve the goal of clean air to breathe.
Webisode 57DHXYM October 14, 2025. A trendy wood stove almost killed me. They need to be banned. In Webisode 57DHXYM, One World Cold Temperatures Heat Pumps, a homeowner was surprised by the strong performance of a new HVAC system in sub-zero temperatures. 2. The health effects of coal-burning emissions. Coal miners with black lung disease are gathering at the Department of Labor on Tuesday to protest what they see as the Trump failure to enforce workplace safety regulations designed to protect them. 2. The United States. What states ban wood stoves? 3. United States renewable energy is booming despite the Trump efforts to slow it, with federal subsidies ending or becoming hard to claim. Companies are racing ahead with solar, wind, and battery projects. 4. California. San Francisco environment scientists develop interactive climate map to track invisible particulate matter pollution. 5. Illinois. Chicago effects of urban PM 2.5 on primary sinonasal epithelial cells in individuals with chronic rhinosinusitis. 6. New Hampshire, Peterborough, and Harrisville heat pumps homeowners are now eligible for thousands in new rebates. 7. United Kingdom Peak District. The hunt for the most efficient heat pump in the world. 8. United Kingdom. A trendy wood-burning stove almost killed me. They need to be banned before they do any more damage. 9. France and Denmark. A tale of two cities contrasting equity of greenspace benefits in relation to PM 2.5 exposure. Paris, France, and Aarhus, Denmark. 10. Google Alerts main content. 0.1 ROSEP View economy is the name of the game, and the workhorse heat pump with rebates was economic. Also, 1. Heat pumps have proven they work in cold temperatures in 2025. 2. A research on coal burning proves that its emissions harm the health of near neighbors. 2. No U.S. states ban wood stoves despite similar research showing that its emissions harm the health of near neighbors. 3. Renewable energy is booming despite the Trump efforts to slow it. 4. Environment scientists develop interactive climate map to track invisible particulate matter pollution. 5. Research in Chicago shows urban PM 2.5 causes chronic rhinosinusitis. 6. In New Hampshire, homeowners are now eligible for thousands in new heat pump rebates. 7. In the United Kingdom, in the Peak District, there is a hunt for the most efficient heat pump in the world. 8. In the United Kingdom, a trendy wood-burning stove almost killed me. They need to be banned before they do any more damage. 9. In France and Denmark. A tale of two cities contrasting equity of greenspace benefits in relation to PM 2.5 exposure. In Paris, France, and Aarhus, Denmark. Headlines and main content. One World Cold Temperatures Heat Pumps. A homeowner was surprised by the strong performance of a new HVAC system in sub-zero temperatures, showcasing how modern cold climate heat pumps can efficiently heat a home without supplemental systems, even when outdoor temperatures drop significantly. Excerpts edited by ROSEP for brevity and clarity in relationship to residents against wood smoke emission particulates. 501c3 nonprofit organization and AI overview. The homeowner noted the system kept the house warm despite the cold, which exceeded expectations, and proved the capability of the technology, a contrast to some older assumptions that heat pumps could not function in such conditions. Improved technology. Modern heat pumps, particularly those with hyperheat or inverter technology, are specifically designed to operate in very cold temperatures down to negative 15 degrees Fahrenheit or lower. In some models, efficient performance instead of creating heat. These systems move existing heat, making them highly energy efficient. They can maintain a comfortable indoor temperature even when it is freezing outside, often using significantly less energy than traditional heating methods. Real-world results. In one instance, the heat pump of a homeowner kept their house at a comfortable 71 degrees Fahrenheit when the outside temperature was just above zero, with the air coming out of the vents being a warm 91 degrees Fahrenheit. Overcoming misconceptions. This performance counters older advice that heat pumps are not suitable for cold winters. Many reputable HVAC technicians and industry experts now confirm that with modern cold climate heat pumps, supplemental heating is often unnecessary in many regions. Cost savings. The efficiency of these systems can lead to significant savings on energy bills compared to older systems, and they are also often eligible for tax credits and rebate. 2. The health effects of coal and coal-burning emissions. Coal miners with black lung disease are gathering at the Department of Labor on Tuesday to protest what they see as the Trump failure to enforce workplace safety regulations designed to protect them. Excerpts edited by ROSEP for brevity and clarity in relationship to residents against wood smoke emission particulates. A 501c3 nonprofit organization. The New York Times Climate Forward newsletter, October 14, 2025. Coal miners with black lung disease are gathering at the Department of Labor on Tuesday to protest what they see as the Trump failure to enforce workplace safety regulations designed to protect them. The protests come as the administration is actively trying to revive the coal industry. The miners argue that the White House is failing to protect their health by declining to enforce limits on cancer-causing silica dust, even as it offers coal companies a handout. Gary Hairston, a retired coal miner, told my colleague Lisa Friedman, but it is not just coal miners that face health risks from the coal supply chain. Coal is the dirtiest fossil fuel and the largest contributor to climate change worldwide. For years, researchers have sought to quantify how coal plants affect the respiratory health of their neighbors and contribute to excess deaths in nearby communities. A recent study illustrated the ways closing a coal coking plant almost immediately improved public health. New York University researchers tracked trends in hospital visits from surrounding neighborhoods after a coal processing facility near Pittsburgh shut down. In a study published in July in the American Journal of Respiratory and Critical Care Medicine, they found that emergency department visits for respiratory issues dropped by about 20% in the month following the shutdown of the plant. The lung health benefits from reduced air pollution were remarkably consistent with what asthmatic smokers experience after they quit. Researchers wrote a case study in coal at the facility, which shut down in 2016. Coal was heated to produce material used to manufacture steel, a process that released pollutants into the air that one researcher likened to coal burning, but on steroids. The shuttering of the plant provided a natural experiment, an opportunity for researchers to understand more about the effects of the facility on the health of its neighbors. They analyzed trends in emergency room visits for 3 years before and after the shutdown date. The month after the closure, emergency room visits for children with asthma dropped by 41%. The researchers also found a 20% decrease in overall ER visits for respiratory problems. Cardiovascular emergency department visits dropped significantly too. The drop-off was much more dramatic than we ever expected. Huge percentages drop in a matter of days or weeks, one researcher said. Some of the numbers continued falling over time. The researcher said he interpreted this as evidence that the longer-term improvement in air quality resulted in lung healing for some residents' progress on clean air despite the improvements, such as scrubbers emissions from coal-fired power plants, contributed to an estimated 1,600 excess deaths among that population in 2020. The research found in 2023 the Biden administration proposed rules that would limit power plant emissions of carbon dioxide and other pollutants, a move that was expected to further reduce threats to public health. The Trump administration moved to roll back those regulations in June. The administration recently announced more than $600 million in support for the coal industry, which has been in decline as other sources of energy get cheaper. In July, the official Department of Energy account on X posted a photo of a gleaming lump of coal, with a caption reading, "She is the moment." The researcher is optimistic that research focusing on the health effects of coal-burning facilities will encourage policymakers to regulate emissions, if not to solve climate change, then to reduce pediatric asthma rates. The only way we have of actually solving the climate problem is to advocate for clean air and go after these sources that are causing the greatest adverse health effects. He said it is more efficient, he added. To be United States, what states ban wood stoves? Excerpts edited by Rozep for brevity and clarity in relationship to residents against wood smoke emission particulates. A 501c3 nonprofit organization. AI overview. No state currently has a complete ban on all wood stoves, but several states like Washington and Oregon have banned the sale and installation of uncertified wood stoves and enforce strict emission standards. Additionally, various counties and cities in California, Alaska, and Colorado have implemented their own restrictions, including temporary burn bans or prohibiting certain types of wood-burning devices. States with strict regulations on new wood stoves. Washington. Since 1992, Washington has required all new wood stoves to meet stricter emission standards than the federal ones, effectively banning models which are not compliant. Oregon. Similar to Washington, Oregon prohibits the sale and installation of wood stoves that do not meet current EPA certification and emissions standards. Local and regional restrictions. California. While California does not have a statewide ban, individual air quality management districts (AQMDs) like the Bay Area Air Quality Management District (BAQMD) and the San Joaquin Valley regulate wood-burning devices and issue spare the air alerts when pollution levels are high, temporarily banning wood-burning. Colorado. The state prohibits the sale of new or used wood-burning devices that do not meet current EPA requirements with specific county-level restrictions in places like Summit County, Alaska. Some communities in Alaska, such as Fairbanks, have banned or restricted the sale and installation of wood stoves which are not certified and require the removal of old stoves before selling a home. Other relevant information. EPA certification for a wood stove to be legally sold or installed in most restricted areas, it must meet the latest emission standards from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, EPA. Air quality management districts. Many regions have local agencies that manage air quality and can implement restrictions, including burn bans during periods of poor air quality. Stricter standards. Several states, including Alaska, Illinois, Maryland, Massachusetts, Minnesota, New Jersey, New York, Oregon, Vermont, and Washington, have sued the EPA alleging that their standards are not sufficiently protective of public health. 3. United States. Renewable energy is booming despite the Trump efforts to slow it, with federal subsidies ending or becoming hard to claim. Companies are racing ahead with solar, wind, and battery projects. Excerpts edited by Rozep for brevity and clarity in relationship to residents against wood smoke emission particulates. A 501c3 nonprofit organization. The New York Times, October 14, 2025. Photo of an array of solar panels next to a green slope in a forested area. Trump is poised to preside over a renewable energy boom. Yes, really, the administration and its allies in Congress have rolled back clean energy tax credits and thrown up roadblocks to renewable energy projects, efforts that in the long run will mean fewer wind and solar farms will be built than otherwise would have. But any meaningful slowdown in the growth of renewable energy and battery storage in the United States is likely to take a few years. That is because companies are racing to install solar panels, wind turbines, and batteries the size of shipping containers before federal tax credits expire or become harder to claim. The pipeline is so big that analysts widely expect the United States to add record or near record amounts of renewable energy and batteries through 2027. Bloomberg NEF, a research firm, recently raised its forecast for how much wind, solar, and batteries the country would add next year by more than 10%. There is this huge hurry up that is taking place, said the chief executive of New York-based Clean Capital, which develops, owns, and operates solar and battery storage projects. New U.S. renewable energy and battery capacity projection as of April 2025 note data includes solar, wind, and battery storage projects. Wind and solar projects must be under construction by July to be eligible for federal tax credits that Congress voted this summer to eliminate years earlier than previously required. Battery installations have longer to get started to hit that deadline. Many developers have ordered custom power transformers, devices used to increase or decrease voltage, solar panels, and other equipment much sooner than they normally would have. Placing such orders is one way to demonstrate to the Internal Revenue Service that a project is underway. Only relatively big companies can afford to spend such huge sums up front, and analysts expect them to start buying smaller projects whose backers are strapped for cash to ensure its projects would still qualify for credits. Clean Capital this summer bought about $25 million of solar panels. It does not yet need. The company plans to store the panels in a warehouse it is renting in San Bernardino, California for $145,000 a month. This rush is real. Jennifer Granholm, the energy secretary for President Biden, said recently, in New York you will see an uptick in the next 2 years, and then you will see a diminishment after that unless something changes. That so much renewable energy is poised to be built despite federal opposition reflects just how much momentum the sector has, not just because of subsidies, but because there is tremendous demand for new sources of energy. Solar and batteries can be installed much faster than natural gas and nuclear power plants. Solar and batteries have also become cheaper, while the cost of building gas power plants has soared this year. Renewable energy and batteries will make up around 93% percent of the capacity added to U.S. grids, according to the Federal Energy Information Administration. We have never seen this kind of demand ever, said the chief executive of EDP Renewables North America, a leading energy developer. For that reason, the development plan of the company looks much as it did before Congress rolled back the tax credits. She said companies are racing to install scores of solar panels and other renewable energy projects before federal tax credits expire. That said, the Trump efforts to stymie renewable energy will take a toll beyond tax credits. There are federal permits which Trump has said his administration will not approve for wind or farmer-destroying solar. The Paris-based International Energy Agency recently almost halved its expectations for how much solar and wind energy capacity the United States will add over the next 5 years. The bulk of that effect will be felt beginning in 2028, the last full year of the Trump presidency. Between permits and the time it takes to connect to the grid, companies can pull forward only so many projects. Already, some smaller solar firms are laying off staff or preparing to shut down. Some developers are focusing on building batteries that charge when electricity is cheap and plentiful and release it when energy demand soars. Such batteries are in high demand to help balance the wind and solar projects built in recent years. Meantime, offshore wind has become all but untouchable, largely because of the Trump attacks on the industry. This is the death knell of offshore wind, said the chief investment officer for T. Rowe Price Investment Management. Ultimately, the loss of renewable energy tax credits is likely to raise energy bills because it can take years to build alternatives like gas or nuclear power plants. Existing gas plants are also likely to be used more. There is not going to be as much supply as expected. A leader of clean capital said necessarily prices will go up. 4 California San Francisco environment scientists develop interactive climate map to track invisible particulate matter pollution. ROSEP view. This is a macro view using satellite data to pinpoint where the PM 2.5 emissions from indoor residential wood burning come from. You need a hyper-localized view, such as from a purple air PM 2.5 monitor hanging from the eaves of the house of a near neighbor of an air-polluting indoor residential wood burner. Excerpts edited by ROSEP for brevity and clarity in relationship to Residents Against Wood Smoke Emission Particulates, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. CBS, San Francisco, October 9, 2025. A form of harmful air pollution that often cannot be plainly observed is now being tracked with a groundbreaking new tool developed by scientists that allows residents to see where it is coming from. When it comes to air quality, there is a lot more than meets the eye. There is growing concern over a tiny airborne threat, a pollutant known as fine particulate matter or PM 2.5. A woman doctor who is a CEO of Breathe California, a San Jose-based nonprofit that focuses on clean air and healthy lungs, said PM 2.5 goes deep and penetrates the lungs, and it stays there. The particles are created by combustion, including the burning fossil fuels, and ROSEP interjects PM 2.5 is emitted by wood burning. Back to the excerpted article, research shows they are the most dangerous form of air pollution, causing inflammation. PM 2.5 play a role in heart disease, respiratory disorders, lung cancer, neurological disorders, infertility, and more. Now, for the first time, a groundbreaking new tool visualizes this often invisible health threat. Climate Trace, tracking real-time atmospheric carbon emissions. An independent group that monitors and publishes greenhouse gas emissions has launched an interactive map that measures the airborne clouds containing these particles, which are known as plumes. The tool uses satellite technology and advanced atmospheric modeling to track the plumes from over 660 million sources worldwide. The map currently contains data for more than 2,600 major urban areas around the world, including the San Francisco Bay Area. UC Berkeley scientists decided to get into the business of using data and statistics to figure out the best times and founded a nonprofit called What Time. At one point, they decided to create a database that would pinpoint the cleanest suppliers of raw materials that are much lower emitting than others. They then hit upon the idea of using satellites and AI to measure all the power plants in the world. Then Al Gore calls, and he says, "I've been waiting since the 1990s for technology like this." That led to Climate Trace, with former Vice President Gore as a co-founder and a coalition of 150 different nonprofits and universities. The group monitors and publishes greenhouse gas emissions and now has a global map that shows plumes of particulates. Climate Trace plumes map of the Bay Area listed under San Jose urban area, United States is an eye-opener. There are numerous sources of particulate plumes, but one major source is domestic and international shipping. The likely paths of the plumes are directed by the wind and weather. However, the quantifiable health impacts are yet unknown. Climate Trace said that it is seeking to partner with public health institutions to connect the exposure data with established health outcome models. 5 Illinois-Chicago effects of urban PM 2.5 on primary sinonasal epithelial cells in individuals with chronic rhinosinusitis. Excerpts edited by ROSEP for brevity and clarity in relationship to Residents Against Wood Smoke Emission Particulates, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Department of Pathology, University of Illinois Chicago. Abstract: fine particulate matter, PM 2.5 airborne particles with an aerodynamic diameter of less than or equal to 5 micrometers. A major air pollutant has been implicated in sinonasal inflammatory diseases such as chronic rhinosinusitis (CRS). Even at levels below national air quality standards, PM 2.5 is thought to exacerbate CRS by compromising the epithelial barrier, impairing mucociliary clearance, and promoting inflammation. However, evidence linking PM 2.5 exposure to sinonasal epithelial remodeling remains limited. Cytokine production from unexposed cultures demonstrated sex-specific differences, with female-derived cultures displaying a more pro-inflammatory profile, highlighting intrinsic immune variability. These findings underscore the importance of biological sex and disease status when evaluating environmental exposures. This work highlights the need to investigate the crosstalk between environmental exposures and individual-specific factors influencing CRS disease progression. 6 New Hampshire, Peterborough, and Harrisville heat pumps homeowners are now eligible for thousands in new rebates. All of this kind of aligns with the end goal. Upfront costs tend to be the biggest barrier for residents. Excerpts edited by Rozep for brevity and clarity in relationship to residents against wood smoke emission particulates. A 501c3 nonprofit organization, October 9, 2025. Upfront costs tend to be the biggest barrier for residents. The rebate program of the district has recently raised its levels and expanded eligibility for homeowners looking to add eco-friendly upgrades to their abodes. The Monadnock Ledger transcript reported that the Heat Smart Plus program for Peterborough and Harrisville, New Hampshire now applies to the income levels of all residents. The maximum rebate was raised from $3,300 to $5,000. It now covers a range of home improvements like weatherization, electrical wiring, and panel upgrades, induction stoves, and heat pump installation. The rebates are open to all detached single-family homes in either town and cover the price of appliances and not labor costs for a state with long cold winters like New Hampshire. Weatherizing a home is a no-brainer. Simple improvements can help reduce energy consumption, benefiting both homeowners and the environment. Induction stoves offer all of the benefits of gas without the health risks. Heat pumps are energy-efficient devices that gather heat from the air or ground outside the home and concentrate it for indoor use. They can be used to heat or cool a home for a fraction of the cost and energy use. Similarly, a heat pump water heater is around 3 to 4 times more efficient than a standard model, according to Energy Star. That can translate to annual savings of $550 for a typical family of 4. All of this kind of aligns with the end goal of electrification and being more renewable that both these towns want and see for the future. 7 United Kingdom Peak District, the hunt for the most efficient heat pump in the world. Excerpts edited by Rozep for brevity and clarity in relationship to residents against wood smoke emission particulates. A 501c3 nonprofit organization, Wired Magazine, July 2, 2024. A new generation of engineers has realized they can push heat pumps to the limit, but just how much heat you can extract depends on your setup. Photo of installation of a new Dakin heat pump at a home in Shorewood, Minnesota. Outside a 100-year-old house on the edge of the Peak District in northern England, the fan blades of a heat pump are swiftly spinning. They're drawing outdoor air over coils of refrigerant, harvesting warmth from that air. All air source heat pumps do this, and they can glean heat even on cold days. But this heat pump is special. It is one of the most efficient installations of its kind in the country. I am number 2 on there, exclaims owner Rob Ritchie, a retired chemistry teacher, referring to the position of the system on Heat Pump Monitor, or a kind of online leaderboard for heat pumps around the UK and beyond. At the time of writing, real-time data suggests that for every kilowatt hour of electricity the Ritchie heat pump consumes, it delivers 5.5 kilowatt hours of heat, a coefficient of performance, or COP of 5.5. Achieving a COP of 5 or above is absolutely incredible, says an active transition support lead at Viessmann, the company that made the Ritchie heat pump in the UK. Average heat pump COPs tend to be between 2 and 3 for social media savvy plumbers and environmentally conscious home renovators who are increasingly sharing videos of their heating systems online. Heat pumps are in vogue in the race to decarbonize and curtail the devastating effects of climate change. Switching home heating systems away from fossil fuel burning boilers and furnaces is essential. Heat pumps will be a key weapon in that fight, says the International Energy Agency. It estimates that globally heat pumps could reduce CO2 emissions by 500 million metric tons, equivalent to taking every car in Europe off the road. A new generation of heating engineers has realized that they can push heat pumps to the limit. These installers are reaching astounding levels of efficiency by taking extra care to design low temperature heating systems that warm rooms without using excess energy. Heat pumps can offer multiple kilowatt hours of heat per kilowatt hour of electricity. Thanks to physics, the refrigerant sealed inside the device evaporates readily when it is warmed, even slightly, say, by the outdoor air, and a compressor then pressurizes the warm gas, which has the effect of heating it further. It only takes a little electricity to power this process, which can raise the temperature of the refrigerant by many degrees Celsius. Since moving to his detached house near Sheffield about 10 years ago, Ritchie has installed loft insulation and solar panels, but the fabric of the building is not necessarily ideal for keeping the place toasty. In an efficient way, the property has thin cavity walls without much insulation in them, and Ritchie lives at 800 feet above sea level, meaning outdoor temperatures are generally relatively low thanks to his heat pump and solar panels, though he estimates he is now saving £2,700, $3,420 on his utility bills annually. It goes to show that heat pumps can work well in older properties and challenging locations. He says the system was designed by local installer Damon Blakemore, who also checks Heat Pump Monitor board regularly to see how his work stands up against that of his competitors. The Ritchie heat pump is not quite in pole position at present, but it is noteworthy, emphasizes Blakemore, because once a year of data has accumulated this September, it could be the first air source device on the leaderboard to achieve a 365-day seasonal COP, or SCOP, of 5. This is an average that reveals how well a heat pump has performed over an entire year. Weather changes between summer and winter, which shift demand for heating, tend to affect overall system efficiency, among other factors. Blakemore is one of the SCOP chasers, as Bennett puts it, driven to maximize the efficiency of the systems he installs. There is a small but highly visible group of such people in the UK who follow each other on Facebook and X, drop in on the podcasts of each other, and jostle for high rankings on Heat Pump Monitor. Org among the stakeholders in this race for efficiency is Heat Geek, an organization that has trained multiple high-performing installers, including Blakemore. It is not really something we particularly anticipated, says a co-founder of Open Energy Monitor OEM, which runs heatpumpmonitor.org, referring to the casual competition emerging in the heating industry. But installers are proud of their work. They do enjoy showing off photos of their installations on social media. The pipework layout is very important to them. There are now more than 170 heat pumps connected to the leaderboard. Most are in the UK. A high ranking can help installers sell their services to customers, adds Hudson. This is crucial because a badly installed heat pump can leave homeowners shivering. Heating industry, but Installers are proud of their work. They do enjoy showing off photos of their installations on social media. The pipework layout is very important to them. There are now more than 170 heat pumps connected to the leaderboard. Most are in the UK. A high ranking can help installers sell their services to customers, adds Hudson. This is crucial because a badly installed heat pump can leave homeowners shivering or facing massive energy bills if you want to add your own heat pump to the online leaderboard. You need to attach a small array of temperature and electricity meters to your heating system. These record electrical input and heat output data in real time, with measurements transmitted automatically to OEM every 10 seconds. It is possible to track the COP of your heat pump over months or even years, but the kit required is not exactly cheap. A typical monitoring setup could cost between £500 and £700, says Hudson, all on top of the price of the heat pump system itself. Still getting an idea, albeit not peer-reviewed analysis of how well heat pumps can work in the UK is valuable, suggests Hudson. In the aggregate, the dataset could help researchers and policymakers study heat pump performance on a larger scale than before. Having access to live data also means installers can quickly spot when the devices develop faults. Tracking performance is also just fun. It is bonkers, Hudson says of the high COP of Ritchie. It is hard to comprehend. That heatpumpmonitor.org is a unique resource. At present, it can be difficult to locate data on live heat pump performance. Wired spent weeks scouring the web and speaking to experts to find examples of heat pump systems that could beat the current SCOP of Rob Ritchie, and found only a handful of possible contenders. There are a couple of organizations that are trying to get more real-world performance data on heat pumps, but it is tough to find, says a man who studies heat pump efficiency at Purdue University in the US. 8 United Kingdom. A trendy wood-burning stove almost killed me. They need to be banned before they do any more damage. Excerpts edited by Rozep for brevity and clarity in relationship to Residents Against Wood Smoke Emission Particulates, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. The Daily Mail UK, October 14, 2025. Wood-burning stoves have become a trendy must-have for people looking to give their home some rustic charm. But while many Brits have invested in the appliance, a nurse has called on them to be banned after fumes almost killed her. Lizzie, 32, was on a riverside walk when she spotted the chimney of a wood-burning stove poking out of a canal boat. The nurse, who suffers from severe asthma but was without her nebulizer, was quickly struck down by a horrifying attack that left minutes from death. She told the Daily Mail, "A lot of people do not understand the seriousness of asthma and how log burners can affect your health. We need to firstly raise awareness about the damage they do, and then hopefully phase them out. It has taken a massive toll on my mental health and confidence. I very often do not go out on my own because of incidents like that. It escalated so quickly, and I am just thankful that there were people that came over and helped." Lizzie, age 32, suffers from severe eosinophilic asthma and has been taken to hospital by ambulance more than 20 times in the past few years. Wood-burning stoves similar to the one pictured above can damage the lungs in a similar way to cigarette smoke, researchers have warned. Recalling the terrifying attack, Lizzie explained how she stumbled back to her car but was barely able to speak to the 999 handlers, only managing to say asthma. Before losing all speech, she managed to press her horn to alert passersby and was taken to the rhesus department for urgent treatment and spent 4 weeks in hospital. However, her health has now deteriorated so much she has been forced to leave her beloved job as a midwife and move back in with her parents. Lizzie said, "I used to do horse riding, running, and paddleboarding, none of which I can do anymore. I have been in intensive care 4 times and am now on steroids and lots of other medication just to get by." Lizzie believes wood-burning caused her asthma to worsen into severe eosinophilic asthma 5 years ago, a more severe condition caused by high levels of blood cells called eosinophils in the airways that create inflammation. She was shocked to find a log burner on so early in the day when her asthma attack happened, as she only ventures out early to avoid the risk of potentially encountering one, and despite living in Cheshire, in an area outside the city where people assume most air pollution is concentrated. Lizzie says wood burners and lit fires in the home cause dangerous air pollution and health risks. Unbeknownst to many, it comes after a recent study has shown that wood-burning stoves can do as much lung damage as smoking. Dr. Andy Whittemore, the lead clinician at Asthma and Lung UK, said domestic burning is one of the largest sources of fine particulate matter, PM 2.5, an invisible pollutant which is small enough to enter the bloodstream and the lungs. Exposure to wood burning can cause and exacerbate lung conditions like asthma and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, and is linked to a whole host of other health issues, including heart conditions, strokes, dementia, and mental health problems. Trendy indoor wood-burning stoves are as bad for the lungs as smoking. Shocking new study finds the main reasons people use wood burners are for the aesthetic or because they believe it is cheaper than other forms of heating. Only 1 in 10 of those use wood burners do so because they have no other alternative heating source. Many people just are not aware of the dangerous health impacts, even from so-called eco stoves, which are 450 times more polluting than gas central heating. This is why we want the government to launch a public awareness campaign on the health impacts and sources of pollution to empower the public to make cleaner choices and protect lung health and other people like Lizzie. The Lizzie case is just one in a rising number of people presenting health complications from wood-burning stoves, as a new study has shown that the everyday appliances can damage the lungs in a similar way to cigarette smoke. The study presented at the European Respiratory Society Congress in Amsterdam showed those who used wood stoves lost lung capacity more quickly than those who do not use wood stoves, even though they tended to be wealthier, healthier, and less likely to smoke. Scientists examined data from the English Longitudinal Study of Aging, which tracks the health of thousands of people. They analyzed repeated lung function tests over 8 years, measuring FEV1, the amount of air a person can forcefully exhale in the first second of a breath. In Britain, domestic solid fuel, mainly wood, but also coal burned in stoves and fireplaces, now produces a fifth of the most dangerous fine particle pollution in the country. This pollutant, PM 2.5, is said to be worse than all of the UK road traffic put together. Brighton and Hove City Council produced this startling advertising campaign, warning of potential dangers of wood-burning stoves, but was accused of scaremongering. Low FEV1 values are linked to higher risks of respiratory disease, disability, and early death. Dr. Laura Horsfall, Principal Research Fellow at University College London, who led the study, said, "Our study suggests that high levels of particulate matter from stoves damage respiratory tissues, causing inflammation in a similar way to cigarette smoke." She added, "We know wood burning at home emits harmful air pollution both indoors and outdoors, including known Carcinogens. Despite this, air pollution from this source has approximately doubled in the UK since 2009 as more people install and use wood stoves. The findings suggest that the fashion for wood-burning stoves, often marketed as environmentally friendly, could be driving a hidden health problem. A recent University College London analysis found that the number of UK homes with wood burners increased from 9.4% in 2022 to 10.3% in 2024 based on energy performance certificates. Despite growing concern about their health harms, in Britain domestic solid fuel, mainly wood, but also coal burned in stoves and fireplaces, now produces a fifth of the most dangerous fine particle pollution, known as PM 2.5 in the country. That is 5 times the amount generated by vehicle exhaust. Annual emissions from domestic wood burning have nearly doubled in little more than a decade, rising from 3,200 tons in 2009 to 6,000 tons in 2023. 9. France and Denmark, a tale of two cities contrasting equity of greenspace benefits in relation to PM 2.5 exposure. Paris, France, and Aarhus, Denmark. Rosep view tree planting is not enough and is even a distraction from what must be done first. Stop burning wood, stop burning biofuels, stop burning solid fuels, use heat pumps residentially to heat homes, and use wind and solar power with power saved in batteries for an electrical power grid that reaches all rural area. From the article headline October 9, 2025, a tale of two cities contrasting equity of greenspace benefits in relation to PM 2.5 exposure. Rosep view greenspace alone is not going to have great effect on human health if people continue to burn wood. Trees close their pores to PM 2.5 from nearby wood burning, just as people hold their breath in the presence of nearby indoor residential wood burning PM 2.5 emissions. And when a tree closes its pores, its absorption of CO2 goes down, and trees never absorb PM 2.5 anyway. Excerpts edited by Rosep for brevity and clarity in relationship to Residents Against Wood Smoke Emission Particulates of 501c3 nonprofit organization. Abstract section. Background. Urban air pollution is the second highest risk factor for non-communicable diseases. Socioeconomically deprived populations are at greater risk from related adverse health outcomes and often bear the additional burden of living in areas with higher pollution exposure. This paper explores the relationship between exposure to PM 2.5 and socioeconomic status in Paris and Aarhus, and the potential impact of the 3 to 3,300 rule on health inequalities. 3 to 3,300 rule. Cities around the world, such as Barcelona, Denver, 29, Manchester, 30, are increasingly developing ambitious plans to increase the amount of green infrastructure, recognizing the many co-benefits tree cover, since cities have widely varying levels of existing tree cover. Aim for certain minimum standards. The 3 to 3,300 rule, which simultaneously aims to increase green space with a focus on trees and address underlying equity issues in the distribution of green space within cities. In Aarhus, existing disparities in exposure to PM 2.5 tended to favor the more vulnerable. By contrast, in Paris, existing disparities were complex but tended to show higher exposure among the most vulnerable populations. The 3 to 30 rule improved air quality for all populations in Paris, but the improvements tended to favor the least vulnerable rather than the most vulnerable, as found elsewhere in France. This variation in impact is likely due to both residential locations of different socioeconomic groups and variation in opportunities for tree planting in each city, which are dependent on building distribution. The Paris socio-economic variation follows common urban patterns, with deprivation concentrated in previously industrial peripheral neighborhoods with low tree cover. The patterns in Aarhus are due largely to clusters of very high-income households and high-quality, high-cost, but dense housing in the city center, where there is little open or green space, but also high density of consumer-related transport. More affluent neighborhoods tend to have more trees. Cities like Paris often have concentrations of high-quality, high-cost housing located in city centers close to cultural and business centers. Long-term exposure to poor air quality has been associated with premature deaths, estimated to be around 55,000 annually across France. The theoretical modeling of the 3 to 30 rule benefited all populations, but these exacerbating factors meant that in Aarhus it benefited some of the least vulnerable populations to a greater extent, citizens and highly educated, and others higher income quintile and working age people to a lesser extent. Likewise in Paris, although the relationship between socioeconomic status and air pollution exposure was not linear, the rule gave the most benefit to the least vulnerable populations, who also had the lowest exposure at baseline. Therefore, the 3 and 30 components of the 3 to 3,300 rule, which focus solely on adding new trees, are likely to have a larger impact on air quality than the 300 component, which is mainly achieved by adding large areas of public green space, assumed to be predominantly grassland. A greater need for behavior change interventions and the involvement of communities in decision-making processes ensure regreening works alongside infrastructure and an educational role to support behavior change. In Paris, there has been a recent movement towards devolution of power, and participatory approaches have led to new public gardens and pedestrian areas. This theoretical model is very small and unlikely to reduce mortality rates significantly as a standalone intervention. However, the public health co-benefits, such as mental health, shading, and noise reduction limitations, variation between our study sites leads to a lack of standardized data at granular subnational level. Small changes in PM 2.5 concentration per se are unlikely to have a direct health impact on an individual. Future research should consider incorporating tree planting in public health outcomes. 10. Google Alerts. World household smoke exposure risk and acute respiratory infection among children under 5. BMC Public Health. Biomed Central. Globally, approximately 2.4 billion people rely on unclean fuels, including wood, dung, crop waste, charcoal, and coal, as their primary energy source. North America, with growth, heat pump water heaters are no longer an afterthought. Facilities dive, and Yahoo cold weather innovations could help spur more sales as manufacturers roll out products to meet DOE challenges to broader heat pump adoption. United States. Continental United States, a feature-level ensemble framework for improving daily PM 2.5 estimation across the ScienceDirect.com. Abstract. Accurate PM 2.5 surface concentration estimates are vital for air quality management and exposure assessment. This study introduces a novel United States American Lung Association report reveals which promising tech could prevent 77,000 Yahoo upgrading to a heat pump will tackle both of those problems rather than generating heat. A heat pump simply transfers heat in the air from one place to another. United States Americans can still snag incentives for energy-efficient kitchen appliances. The cool-down major state rebate programs created by the Inflation Reduction Act are a cleaner, more affordable future might be just one heat pump away. United States ROSEP view heat pumps even used in dishwashers now. From the article headline Beko dishwasher with heat pump technology, the best inventions of 2025 special mentions Time magazine. The Beko innovative heat pump technology efficiently heats cleaning water throughout the entire washing cycle using 50% less energy than standard. United States condo owner receives game-changing appliance recommendation after ditching outdated. The cool down one Reddit thread about heat pump water heaters is convincing people to make the upgrade. United States e-commerce growth reduces primary PM 2.5 emissions, but increases ACS publications. American Chemical Society. Our analysis reveals that online shopping reduces PM 2.5 emissions from the retail sector by 19%, primarily due to United States efficient electric heat pumps heating and cooling unit trend. Hunter 1 cold weather heat pumps. The advancement of heat pump systems capable of maintaining efficiency in sub-zero temperatures presents opportunities. United States experts sound the alarm on the outdated industrial systems costing states billions. The cool down one other benefit of switching to heat pumps, whether at the industrial or household level, is that it cuts planet heating pollution. Plus this, United States homeowners stunned at new HVAC performance in sub-zero temperatures found the limit. The cool down one homeowner on Reddit was thrilled to show how effectively their heat pump could heat a room in extremely cold temperatures. United States jets in air. The best inventions of 2025. Time magazine. Heat pumps are an efficient electric alternative to conventional furnaces and air conditioning, 80% of which in the U.S. run on fossil fuels. United States setting your home up for success. Small animal owner fire awareness. Eureka alert. Wood-burning stoves are the most common causes of home fires in the although your pet may be free from burns, they could have inhaled smoke. United States, we are not monitoring brown carbon emissions from wildfires properly. Envirotech. Online wildfire smoke and wood-burning stoves have become familiar features of contemporary life. Click to read more. California Los Angeles LAFD releases after-action report on Palisades. NBC Los Angeles. The Los Angeles Fire Department has released its after-action review report. California Los Angeles LA Mayor Karen Bass and Governor Gavin Newsom react to Palisades fire arrest. NBC Los Angeles. Following the arrest of a man in connection with the deadly Palisades fire, Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass and Governor Gavin Newsom shared their views. California Los Angeles Florida man accused of starting Palisades fire. NBC Los Angeles. Jonathan Rinderknecht was arrested in Florida and charged by federal prosecutors with destruction of property by means of fire. California Los Angeles hearing today for man accused of setting Palisades fire. NBC Los Angeles. Jonathan Rinderknecht is now facing charges in connection to the Palisades fire and is set to face a judge Thursday morning. California Los Angeles Palisades fire suspect threatened to burn down home, agent says. NBC Los Angeles Palisades fire suspect threatened to burn down the home of his sister, ATF agent says. California Palisades and Florida residential state of alleged Palisades fire starter. ROSEP view psychological profile of those who continue indoor residential wood burning in face of air pollution complaints from near neighbors could be compared to psychological profile of the alleged Palisades fire starter suspect. There is a movie called Firestarter. Is that movie sympathetic to fire starters? From the article headline Palisades fire victims still seek answers to why the fire was so destructive. NBC Los Angeles. One Palisades man said the arrest of a suspect is just one piece of the puzzle. Karma Dickerson reports for the NBC4 News at 6 p.m. on Thursday. California Lakeport News briefs Lake County record BNREN also offers generous rebates for heat pump hot water heaters, $750, $1,000, and heating and cooling systems rebate for each appliance. Go to NREN. Cash rebates for new energy efficient appliances increased in Lake County. Lake County News federal tax credits are. California San Francisco Bay Area scientists develop interactive climate map to track invisible particulate matter pollution. CBS News. There is growing concern over a tiny airborne threat. A pollutant known as fine particulate matter or PM 2.5 particulate matter is like 30 times. California San Francisco Bay Area South Bay residents, your path to an energy-efficient heat pump just got easier. Rewiring. America San Mateo and Santa Clara County households can save big on energy-efficient heating and cooling systems under new heat pump access program. Air Care. Georgia homeowners can slash HVAC costs by $14,000 through energy rebate program. Street Insider rebates guide. The My Air article details qualifying upgrades including heat pump systems up to $8,000 in rebates. Heat pump water heaters. Illinois web effects of urban PM 2.5 on primary sinonasal epithelial cells in individuals with chronic. Oxford Academic. Oxford University Press. Abstract. Fine particulate matter PM 2.5 airborne particles with an aerodynamic diameter of less than or equal to 2.5 m. A major air pollutant has been implicated. Missouri Kirksville and Iowa. Ottumwa wood stove causes fire that destroyed Adair County garage. KTVO first responders said heavy smoke was pouring from the building when they arrived. Adair County Fire Chief Jeremy Davis told KTVO that the fire was. New Hampshire Monadnock News homeowners are now eligible for thousands in new rebates. All of this kind of aligns the cool down heat pump installation. The rebates are open to all detached single-family homes in either town and cover the price of appliances and not labor costs. New York District weighs Dormitory Authority of the State of New York DASNY financing rebates and reserves as it plans possible $50 million 2027 project. Citizen Portal AI. He said the capital reserve of the district is just under $8 million and that energy rebates tied to recent heat pump replacements have provided New York City Machine Learning and Spatiotemporal PM 2.5 Hotspots Analysis for Better Targeted Mitigation Strategies, ScienceDirect.com. This study uses machine learning for spatiotemporal analysis of PM 2.5 hotspots in New York City, revealing a 10 to 25% decline in concentrations from Oregon. Eugene Lane County residents are allowed to light fires marking the end of wildfire season. The register guard wood or green waste with a 10-foot safety zone watching the fire before burning. You should also check if there is a burn advisory. That Washington, Seattle hazy conditions from WA fires could be harmful to vulnerable groups. Cairo 7 News Seattle Cairo 7 wood smoke produces a lot of particulate matter and some of it can get deep into your lungs, Wadley said, but the precaution is not for Canada. Heat pump makers are ready for a rush. Will customers come? Yahoo News Canada heat pumps work by absorbing heat from the environment. Usually ambient heat causes a refrigerant inside the heat pump to warm up and expand. Canada British Columbia Chilliwack families turn to heat pumps as rebates make upgrades more affordable. The Chilliwack Progress homeowners in the Lower Mainland can qualify for up to $16,000 toward heat pump installation, often covering the full cost of both the unit and Canada British Columbia Powell River QRD Committee recommends continuing with stove reduction program. Powell River Peak. If we can raise public awareness, people can take advantage of the rebate to reduce their smoke emissions and understand what is allowed to be. Brazil modifying effects of PM 2.5 and 03 on heat-related cardiorespiratory hospitalizations. In Brazil, nature studies have shown that exposure to pollutants such as particulate matter PM 2.5 and ozone 03 can independently increase hospital admissions. Australia, Queensland Energy Plan, a roadmap to nowhere. Solar quotes, the long-running national solar panel rebate can save thousands on top 5 heat pump brands. Heat pump installation, heat pump STC calculator. United Kingdom, a trendy wood-burning stove almost killed me. They need to be banned. Daily Mail, wood-burning stoves have become a trendy must-have for people looking to give their homes some rustic charm. Advertisement, but while many Brits one spring day in April, it was an unsuspecting wood-burning stove from a canal boat, which left her unable to speak, and spending 4 weeks in United Kingdom. Wales Welsh invention prevents indoor pollution from wood-burning stoves. Nav.nation. Simru burning would just had to be made more efficient and less polluting, said Mark, through our experiences of reducing emissions from larger scale with France and Denmark. A tale of two cities contrasting equity of greenspace benefits in relation to PM 2.5 exposure. BMC Public Health Biomed central exposure to air pollution was calculated as the population weighted average of PM 2.5 concentration micrograms per cubic meter. Abstract section results the relationship. This paper explores the relationship between exposure to PM 2.5 and socioeconomic status in Paris, France and Aarhus, Denmark, and the potential impact of the 3 to 32. 300 Rule on Health Inequalities. Central Asia, quantifying dust contribution to particulate matter in Central Asia. ScienceDirect.com. We estimated dust concentrations using the first contemporary elemental composition data of PM 2.5 and PM 10 samples collected from an urban site in China. Regional PM 2.5 pollution forecasting using a hybrid model based on multi-scales feature research journals, PLOS. This model can simultaneously forecast PM 2.5 concentrations for all cities in the region. The results show that the annual and seasonal prediction. China uneven PM 2.5 pollution risk dynamic analysis of spatial drivers and differentiated policy. ScienceDirect.com. Abstract to advance sustainable urban transitions in shrinking cities, a potential driving indicator system applicable to PM 2.5 concentrations in South Korea. Seoul. Wintertime trends of fine particulate matter PM 2.5 in South Korea 2012 to 2022 response. AGU journals. Wiley, however, Seoul PM 2.5 declined only after 2019, and its composition has shifted toward particulate nitrate PNO3 and organic aerosol OA trends in Cat's corner strategy with Tiger and Leone. Saying the quiet part out loud. Roar. Hi, I am Tiger. Our human asked us to get up from our naps and start Cat's corner strategy with Tiger and Leone. She gave us a list of internet allies which we will post for her here.
Hi, I am Leone. It is better for your mental fitness to go to these websites than to go to bro sites for advice. Substack letters from an American Heather Cox Richardson. Substack your local epidemiologist. The Midas Touch. The Guardian. The New York Times.
One introduction. Rosette view. The United States government was on track in the Biden administration to reduce the prices for both clean energy heat pumps and clean energy electric cars. Trump tariffs are expected to upset those plans to prevent future air pollution and prevent climate change. The United States government should, instead of certifying wood stoves as safe when they are not safe, go forward with regulations that ban wood stove use and direct government money for use of forest refuse only for home building and furniture building. For just a few examples of use of forest products for non-burning uses, it is well known from scientific and medical research that wood burning is a substantial source of PM 2.5 emissions, yet the wood burning industry uses the scientifically debunked theory named carbon neutrality of wood burning burning to argue that wood burning replacing coal burning in industry, and in a trickle-down argument that wood burning should continue for home heating should continue. Presumably because it is called renewable, wood may be renewable in the sense that a tree can be planted in the place of a cut-down burned tree. But it takes centuries or decades for the newly planted tree to attain the stature of the cut-down burned tree. During those centuries or decades, photosynthesis, which converts CO2 to oxygen, and so sequesters some carbon, will not take place at the same rate as photosynthesis was performed previously, and wood burning emits both CO2 and PM2.5, and PM2.5 is not absorbed by trees, so PM2.5 is not diminished by planting a tree in the place of a cut-down and burned tree. In fact, a living tree closes its pores against the presence of PM2.5 from nearby wood burning, just as humans hold their breath in the presence of PM2.5 from nearby wood burning. And when a tree closes its pores, the level of photosynthesis that absorbs CO2 pollution goes down. Wood burning emits 90% PM2.5 particulate matter of 2.5 micrometer size, the perfect size to infiltrate the human lung, setting off a cascade of human health problems and early deaths. Contrary to many beliefs, wood burning emits 2.8 times the PM2.5 as the fossil fuel coal burning, and wood burning emits 450 times the PM2.5 as the fossil fuel natural gas burning. Replacing coal burning with wood burning creates more air pollution in the form of CO2 and PM2.5 than coal burning. This emission data comes from testing the cleanest burning wood stove in the